In the vibrant city of Austin, Texas, Nick and Zoe's love story begins like a fairy tale, full of youthful dreams and unbreakable bonds. However, hidden beneath their perfect life is a secret that could tear their family apart. This is Betrayal Beneath the Surface, the cheating wife's secret. Follow us as we explore the twists and turns of this emotional journey, where love and trust are put to the ultimate test. Can their relationship survive the ultimate betrayal? Watch to find out. Nick and Zoe had one of those love stories that seemed almost too good to be true. They met when they were still teenagers, just kids growing up in Austin, Texas. Their families were close, and they often found themselves at the same gatherings, holidays, and celebrations. Nick was the older boy next door, and Zoe was the bright-eyed girl who always had a smile on her face. It was the summer of 2001 when Nick first realized his feelings for Zoe were more than just neighborly affection. He was 19, and Zoe had just turned 17. They were at a 4th of July barbecue, and Zoe was wearing a simple sundress that made her look effortlessly beautiful. Nick couldn't take his eyes off her. As the night went on and the fireworks lit up the sky, Nick found himself standing next to Zoe, both of them looking up at the colorful display. "I've always loved fireworks," Zoe said, her voice soft and full of wonder. "Yeah, they're pretty amazing," Nick replied, glancing at her. He hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "Zoe, would you want to go out sometime? Like, just the two of us?" Zoe turned to him, her eyes wide with surprise and excitement. "I'd love that, Nick." And so, their relationship began. They spent the rest of that summer going on dates, talking about their dreams and plans for the future, and simply enjoying each other's company. By the time fall came around, they were inseparable. Nick was attending the University of Texas, studying engineering, while Zoe was finishing her senior year of high school. They made it work, though, with Nick driving back to Austin every weekend to see her. Their families were thrilled, especially since Nick's older brother, Liam, was married to Zoe's older sister, Ava. It felt like their union was meant to be. In the summer of 2003, a year after Zoe graduated from high school, Nick proposed to her. He took her to the same spot where they had watched the fireworks that night 2 years earlier. This time, he had arranged for a private display just for them. As the sky lit up with bursts of color, Nick got down on one knee and held out a ring. "Zoe, you've made me the happiest man in the world. Will you marry me?" Zoe's eyes filled with tears of joy as she nodded. "Yes, Nick, of course, I will." They planned a beautiful wedding for the following summer. On June 12, 2004, surrounded by their friends and family, Nick and Zoe said their vows. The ceremony was held in a charming outdoor garden, with flowers everywhere and the Texas sun shining down on them. Nick's brother, Liam, was his best man, and Zoe's sister, Ava, was her maid of honor. It was a perfect day, filled with love and laughter. After the wedding, Nick and Zoe moved into a cozy house in Austin. Nick continued his studies, now in his final year of university, while Zoe started working at a local boutique. They talked about their future often, dreaming of the family they would one day have. By the time Nick graduated in the spring of 2005, Zoe had become a manager at the boutique, and they were ready to start their family. They decided to wait a little while to save up some money and enjoy their time together as newlyweds. However, life had its own plans. Despite their best efforts, Zoe didn't get pregnant as quickly as they had hoped. Months turned into a year, and soon they found themselves under pressure, especially from Zoe's mother, Grace, who was eager for a grandson. "You two should go see a doctor," Grace would say. "It's not normal for it to take this long." Nick and Zoe finally decided to follow her advice. After numerous tests, they were told that Nick had a slightly low sperm count, but nothing that should prevent them from having children. The doctors reassured them that everything was fine and that they just needed to be patient. Despite the reassurances, the pressure weighed heavily on them. Zoe felt the strain the most, especially with Grace constantly inquiring about their progress. It was a difficult time, and it put a strain on their marriage. But through it all, Nick and Zoe remained committed to each other. They knew that their love was strong enough to overcome any obstacle. In the summer of 2007, after 3 years of trying, Zoe finally became pregnant. When she told Nick the news, he couldn't contain his joy. He lifted her up and spun her around, laughing and crying at the same time. "We're going to be parents," he exclaimed. Their first child, Emma, was born on April 15, 2008. She was a beautiful baby girl with Zoe's big blue eyes and Nick's dark hair. From the moment they held her in their arms, they knew their lives had changed forever. Emma brought so much joy and happiness into their home. Nick and Zoe felt like the luckiest parents in the world. Just as they were settling into their new roles as parents, Zoe became pregnant again in the fall of 2008. This time, the pregnancy was easier, and they welcomed their second child, Lucas, on June 20, 2009. Lucas was a healthy, happy baby boy who loved to smile and laugh. Nick and Zoe were over the moon, feeling like their family was complete. However, life had one more surprise for them. In the summer of 2010, Zoe discovered she was pregnant once again. This time, it was a bit of a shock, but they embraced it with open hearts. Their third child, Noah, was born on December 2, 2011. Noah was a sweet and gentle baby who quickly became the apple of their eye. As the years went by, Nick and Zoe's family grew closer and closer. They created countless memories together, from family vacations to simple Sunday afternoons spent playing in the backyard. Nick loved watching his children grow and develop their unique personalities. Emma was a bright and inquisitive child who loved reading and exploring. She had a natural curiosity about the world and often asked questions that left Nick and Zoe amazed. Lucas, on the other hand, was more of an adventurer. He loved being outdoors, playing sports, and trying new things. Noah was the calm and thoughtful one, always observing and taking everything in before making a move. Nick and Zoe were proud of their children and did their best to nurture their individual strengths and interests. They supported Emma's love for books by taking her to the library regularly and encouraging her to write her own stories. They cheered Lucas on at his soccer games and helped him build elaborate forts in the backyard. And they gave Noah plenty of time and space to explore his creativity, providing him with art supplies and encouraging his budding interest in painting. Throughout it all, Nick and Zoe's love for each other remained strong. They made time for date nights, took weekend getaways, and always made sure to communicate openly and honestly. They knew that a strong marriage was the foundation of a happy family, and they were committed to making their relationship a priority. Life wasn't without its challenges, of course. There were sleepless nights, tantrums, and the occasional argument. But Nick and Zoe faced every obstacle together, knowing that their love and dedication to each other and their family would see them through. As their 20th anniversary approached in the summer of 2024, Nick and Zoe began planning a special celebration. They wanted to commemorate their 2 decades of love and commitment with a big party, surrounded by their friends and family. They booked a beautiful venue in downtown Austin and started making arrangements. Little did they know that their world was about to be turned upside down. A series of events would soon reveal secrets that had been buried for years, testing their love and shaking the very foundation of their family. But for now, as they stood on the threshold of their 20th anniversary, Nick and Zoe were blissfully unaware of what was to come. They were simply 2 people in love, looking forward to celebrating a lifetime of memories and dreaming of the future they would continue to build together. Nick and Zoe's marriage began with the excitement and optimism that accompanies young love. They had tied the knot in a beautiful garden ceremony in June of 2004, surrounded by friends and family. The memory of that day, with its brilliant sunshine and laughter, was a treasure they both held dear. Life as newlyweds in Austin was a blend of joy, discovery, and a few challenges, but their love always guided them through. After the wedding, Nick continued his engineering studies at the University of Texas. He was in his final year and spent long hours studying and attending classes. Zoe, on the other hand, began working at a local boutique. Her natural flair for fashion and her warm personality quickly made her a favorite among customers and colleagues alike. She was soon promoted to manager, a role that she excelled in. Their life was busy but fulfilling. They rented a small but charming house in a quiet neighborhood in Austin. It wasn't much, but it was theirs, and they took pride in making it a home. Evenings were often spent cooking dinner together, talking about their day, and planning for their future. They dreamed of having a family, with children running around the backyard, filling their home with laughter and love. By the time Nick graduated in the spring of 2005, they felt ready to take the next step. They had saved up some money and started looking for a house to buy. After a few months of searching, they found the perfect place, a cozy 3-bedroom house with a big backyard, perfect for the family they hoped to have. They moved in during the summer, excited about this new chapter in their lives. With their new home settled, Nick and Zoe turned their attention to starting a family. They were both eager to become parents and imagined what their future children would be like. However, as months went by without any sign of pregnancy, their excitement turned to concern. Zoe, especially, felt the pressure mounting. With 3 children, life was busier than ever. Nick and Zoe juggled their jobs, household responsibilities, and parenting with as much grace and patience as they could muster. There were sleepless nights, diaper changes, and countless trips to the pediatrician. But there were also moments of pure joy and laughter, like when Emma and Lucas played together, making up silly games, or when Noah's giggles filled the room. Nick took on a new role at work, and his engineering career began to flourish. Zoe, although she loved her job at the boutique, decided to take a step back to focus more on the children. She cherished the time she spent with them, watching them grow and develop their unique personalities. Emma was a bright and inquisitive child who loved reading and exploring. She had a natural curiosity about the world and often asked questions that left Nick and Zoe amazed. Lucas, on the other hand, was more of an adventurer. He loved being outdoors, playing sports, and trying new things. Noah was the calm and thoughtful one, always observing and taking everything in before making a move. Despite the busy schedule, Nick and Zoe made time for each other. They knew that a strong marriage was the foundation of a happy family. They had regular date nights, went on weekend getaways, and always made sure to communicate openly and honestly. They cherished their moments together, whether it was a quiet evening at home or a romantic dinner out. Their families remained close-knit. Liam and Ava, now with 2 children of their own, often joined Nick and Zoe for family gatherings. The cousins loved playing together, and the adults enjoyed catching up and reminiscing about old times. Grace, despite her earlier pressure, was a doting grandmother who adored her grandchildren. One summer, the whole family took a trip to the beach. It was a rare opportunity for everyone to relax and enjoy each other's company. Nick and Zoe watched with pride as Emma built sandcastles with her cousins. Lucas chased seagulls along the shore, and Noah played contentedly in the sand. In the evenings, after the children were tucked into bed, Nick and Zoe would sit on the porch, listening to the sound of the waves and talking about their dreams for the future. They felt incredibly blessed to have each other and their beautiful family. As the years passed, Nick and Zoe's love only deepened. They faced challenges together, from the everyday stresses of parenting to more significant hurdles. Through it all, their love and commitment to each other remained unwavering. They knew that they could face anything as long as they had each other. Their children grew and thrived. Emma excelled in school and developed a passion for writing. She loved creating stories and would often share them with her parents, who encouraged her creativity. Lucas became a star athlete, joining the soccer team and impressing everyone with his skills and determination. Noah, always thoughtful and introspective, showed a talent for art. His drawings and paintings filled the house, a testament to his creativity. Nick and Zoe were incredibly proud of their children. They supported their interests and celebrated their achievements, always there to offer guidance and encouragement. They knew that their family was their greatest accomplishment, the foundation of their happiness. As their 20th anniversary approached in the summer of 2024, Nick and Zoe began planning a special celebration. They wanted to commemorate their 2 decades of love and commitment with a big party, surrounded by their friends and family. They booked a beautiful venue in downtown Austin and started making arrangements. Little did they know that their world was about to be turned upside down. A series of events would soon reveal secrets that had been buried for years, testing their love and shaking the very foundation of their family. But for now, as they stood on the threshold of their 20th anniversary, Nick and Zoe were blissfully unaware of what was to come. They were simply 2 people in love, looking forward to celebrating a lifetime of memories and dreaming of the future they would continue to build together. Nick and Zoe's life was seemingly perfect. Their children were thriving, their careers were fulfilling, and their love for each other was as strong as ever. However, beneath the surface, there were cracks that neither of them had noticed. The first sign of trouble came from an unexpected source: Noah, their youngest son. It was a hot afternoon in August 2024. Nick had come home early from work, looking forward to spending some time with his family. As he walked into the house, he noticed that Noah was unusually quiet. The normally cheerful boy was sitting at the dining table, staring at a pile of books and papers. "Hey, buddy," Nick said, ruffling Noah's hair. "What's up? You look a bit down." Noah glanced up, his eyes filled with a mix of frustration and sadness. "Just school stuff, Dad. It's nothing." Nick sat down next to him, sensing that there was more to it. "Come on, Noah, you know you can talk to me about anything. What's bothering you?" Noah hesitated, then sighed. "It's just, I feel like I'm different from Emma and Lucas. They seem to have everything figured out, and I just don't. I don't fit in with them." Nick's heart ached for his son. "Noah, you are unique, and that's what makes you special. You have your own strengths and talents. Don't compare yourself to your siblings. We're all different, and that's okay." Noah nodded, but Nick could tell that his words hadn't fully reassured him. As the days went by, Nick noticed that Noah's mood didn't improve. He became more withdrawn, often avoiding eye contact and spending a lot of time alone in his room. One evening, after dinner, Nick decided to have a heart-to-heart talk with Zoe about Noah. "Zoe, have you noticed anything different about Noah lately? He seems really down." Zoe nodded, her brow furrowed with concern. "I've noticed it too. He's been so quiet and distant. I thought maybe it was just a phase, but it's been going on for a while now. I think we need to talk to him, find out what's really bothering him," Nick said. They agreed to sit down with Noah that weekend, hoping to get to the bottom of his troubles. But before they could do so, a confrontation between Nick and Noah brought the issue to the forefront in a way Nick hadn't expected. It was a Saturday afternoon, and Nick was in the kitchen, preparing lunch. He called out to Noah, asking him to clean up the mess he had left on the dining table. Noah, who was in his room, responded with a sullen, "I'll do it later, Dad." "Noah, I need you to do it now," Nick replied firmly. "We all have responsibilities, and you need to take care of yours." There was a long pause before Noah stormed into the kitchen, his face red with anger. "Why are you always picking on me?" he shouted. "I'm tired of it." Nick was taken aback by Noah's outburst. "I'm not picking on you, Noah. I'm just asking you to clean up after yourself. It's part of being a family." "Family?" Noah scoffed. "What do you know about family?" Nick's heart sank. "What do you mean by that, Noah?" Noah's eyes filled with tears, and he shouted, "You're not even my real dad." The room fell silent, the weight of Noah's words hanging in the air. Nick felt as if the ground had shifted beneath his feet. He stared at Noah, unable to find the right words. "Noah, what are you talking about?" Zoe's voice broke the silence as she entered the kitchen, her expression a mix of confusion and worry. Noah looked at his mother, then back at Nick. "I'm sorry, Dad," he whispered, his anger dissipating into regret. "I didn't mean it." Nick took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "It's okay, Noah. We'll talk about this later. Why don't you go to your room and take some time to calm down?" Noah nodded and quickly left the kitchen. Nick and Zoe stood there, staring at each other, the shock of what had just happened slowly sinking in. "Nick, what do you think he meant?" Zoe asked, her voice trembling. Nick shook his head, trying to make sense of it all. "I don't know, Zoe. But we need to find out." They decided to give Noah some space before addressing the issue. Meanwhile, Nick couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over him. He knew he had to get to the bottom of it, but he also feared what he might discover. Later that evening, Nick found himself alone in the study, unable to focus on anything but Noah's words. He remembered a conversation he had once had with a friend who mentioned the possibility of using DNA testing to confirm paternity. It seemed like a drastic step, but the seed of doubt had been planted in his mind. He decided to do some research online, hoping to find answers. As he read through various articles and forums, the idea of a DNA test became more appealing. It would provide clarity, one way or another. He found a reputable lab that offered discreet and reliable testing. They could compare his DNA with samples from his children and provide a definitive answer. The next morning, Nick told Zoe about his plan. "I think we should do a DNA test, Zoe. Just to put our minds at ease. We need to know the truth." Zoe looked conflicted. "Nick, do you really think that's necessary? I mean, we've been a family for all these years. Do we really need a test to confirm that?" Nick took her hands in his. "Zoe, I understand your hesitation. But I can't ignore what Noah said. If there's even a slight chance that something isn't right, we need to know. For our peace of mind, and for the kids' sake." Zoe sighed, then nodded. "Okay, Nick. If it will help us find the truth, then let's do it. They decided to collect the samples discreetly, not wanting to alarm the children. Nick managed to get hair samples from each of them and sent them off to the lab. The waiting period was agonizing. Nick found it hard to concentrate at work, and Zoe was on edge, constantly worrying about the results. A week later, the results arrived. Nick had them sent to his office to avoid Zoe accidentally opening the envelope. His hands trembled as he tore it open, his heart pounding in his chest. The first page contained a summary of the findings. His eyes scanned the document, looking for the key information. His heart sank as he read the results. Noah was indeed his biological son, but Emma and Lucas were not. Nick felt a wave of emotions wash over him: shock, anger, sadness, and betrayal. He sat in his office chair, staring at the document, trying to process what it all meant. How could this be? How could Zoe have betrayed him like this? He decided to confront Zoe that evening. As soon as he got home, he called her into the living room, his expression serious. "Zoe, we need to talk," he said, holding up the envelope with the test results. Zoe's face went pale. "Nick, what is it?" "I got the DNA test results back," he said, his voice shaking. "Noah is my son, but Emma and Lucas, they aren't." Zoe gasped, tears welling up in her eyes. "Nick, I don't know what to say. How could you, Zoe?" Nick's voice was filled with pain and betrayal. "How could you lie to me for all these years?" Zoe broke down, sobbing. "Nick, I'm so sorry. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I never meant to hurt you." "Then why, Zoe? Why did this happen?" Nick demanded. Zoe took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. "It was a mistake, Nick. A terrible mistake. When we were having trouble conceiving, Grace kept pressuring me to find a way to have a baby. She even suggested that I sleep with someone else to get pregnant." Nick's eyes widened in disbelief. "And you did it? You actually did it?" Zoe nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I was desperate, Nick. I wanted to give you a child, and I wanted to make my mother happy. Liam was the only one I could trust. We only did it a few times, and it was only to help me get pregnant. I swear, it meant nothing more than that." Nick felt like the ground was crumbling beneath him. "Liam? My own brother?" Zoe sobbed harder. "I'm so sorry, Nick. I thought it would work, and then we could move on and be happy. I never imagined it would come back to haunt us like this." Nick stood up, pacing the room, his mind racing. "And Lucas? Is he Liam's son too?" Zoe nodded, her voice barely audible. "Yes, but Noah is yours, Nick. I swear." Nick felt a surge of anger and betrayal. "I can't believe this. All these years, Zoe. All these years, you've been lying to me. How could you do this to our family?" Zoe reached out, trying to hold his hand, but Nick pulled away. "Please, Nick. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I love you. We can get through this." Nick shook his head, his heart heavy with pain. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Zoe. I need some time to think." With that, he walked out of the house, needing space to process everything. He drove around aimlessly, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. How could his own brother betray him like this? How could Zoe lie to him for so long? Nick found himself at a park, sitting on a bench, trying to calm his racing thoughts. He knew he had to confront Liam, but he wasn't sure how. The betrayal cut deep, and he didn't know if he could ever trust his brother again. The next morning, Nick decided to confront Liam. He drove to his brother's house, his heart heavy with anger and betrayal. As he pulled into the driveway, he took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. He knew this confrontation would be difficult, but it was necessary. Liam answered the door with a smile that quickly faded when he saw the look on Nick's face. "Nick, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Nick clenched his fists, trying to control his anger. "We need to talk, Liam. Now." Liam nodded, sensing the gravity of the situation. He led Nick to the living room, where they sat down. "What's going on, Nick?" Nick took out the envelope with the DNA test results and threw it on the table. "Read it." Liam picked up the envelope and pulled out the papers. As he read through the results, his face turned pale. "Nick, I can explain." "Explain? You think you can explain this?" Nick's voice was filled with fury. "You slept with my wife, Liam. You fathered 2 of my children. How could you do this to me?" Liam looked down, unable to meet Nick's eyes. "Nick, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. Zoe and I thought we were helping you, helping the family. We never meant for it to come out like this. Helping me? Nick shouted. You call betraying me and lying to me for years, helping. How could you, Liam? You're my brother. Liam's eyes filled with tears. I know, Nick. I know. I regret it every day. I wanted to tell you so many times, but I was afraid. I didn't want to lose you, or the family. Nick shook his head, feeling a mix of anger and sorrow. Well, you've lost me now, Liam. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this. Liam reached out, but Nick stood up, backing away. Don't. Just don't. I need time to think, to process this. Stay away from me, and stay away from my family. With that, Nick stormed out of the house, his heart heavy with pain. He drove back home, not sure what to do next. The betrayal cut deep, and he felt lost and broken. When he returned home, Zoe was waiting for him, her eyes red from crying. Nick, please. We need to talk about this. We need to figure out how to move forward. Nick sighed, feeling exhausted. Zoe, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can move forward with you, knowing what you've done. Zoe reached out, her voice pleading. Nick, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But I love you, and I want to make this right. Please, give me a chance. Nick looked at her, his heart aching. I need time, Zoe. I need to think. Right now, I can't be around you. He walked upstairs to the guest room, needing space to process everything. As he lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind raced. He thought about his children, Emma, Lucas, and Noah. How would this revelation affect them? How would they react? Over the next few days, Nick tried to keep his distance, struggling to come to terms with the betrayal. Zoe tried to give him space, but it was clear she was hurting too. They barely spoke, the once warm and loving home now filled with tension and silence. Finally, after days of agonizing over what to do, Nick decided it was time to talk to the children. They deserved to know the truth, and he couldn't keep it from them any longer. He called Emma, Lucas, and Noah into the living room, his heart heavy with the weight of what he was about to say. Zoe sat beside him, her face pale and anxious. Kids, there's something important we need to talk about, Nick began, his voice trembling. It's about our family. Emma, Lucas, and Noah looked at their parents, sensing the seriousness of the situation. What is it, Dad? Emma asked, her voice filled with concern. Nick took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. We recently found out something that changes everything. We did a DNA test, and the results showed that while Noah is my biological son, Emma and Lucas are not. The room fell silent as the children processed the information. Emma's eyes filled with tears. What do you mean, Dad? If you're not our real dad, then who is? Nick looked at Zoe, who took a deep breath and spoke. Emma, Lucas, your biological father is your Uncle Liam. The shock and confusion on their faces broke Nick's heart. Lucas looked at his parents, trying to understand. So, Uncle Liam is our real dad? How is that possible? Zoe's voice was filled with emotion. It happened a long time ago, when your father and I were having trouble conceiving. Your grandmother, Grace, pressured me into finding a way to have a baby. We made a terrible mistake, and Uncle Liam helped me get pregnant. It was meant to be a secret, something we thought would never come out. Noah, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. But Dad is still our dad, right? Nick's eyes filled with tears as he nodded. Yes, Noah, no matter what, I am still your dad. I love you all, and that will never change. Emma wiped away her tears, her voice shaky. What happens now? Are we still a family? Nick looked at Zoe, then back at his children. We're going to figure this out together. It's going to be hard, but we will get through this. We are a family, and we will always be a family. The days that followed were filled with difficult conversations and raw emotions. Nick and Zoe tried to be there for their children, answering their questions and comforting them as best they could. They knew that healing would take time, but they were committed to finding a way forward. Nick and Zoe also sought counseling, hoping to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. They attended sessions both together and individually, trying to work through their pain and find a path to forgiveness. It wasn't easy, and there were times when Nick wondered if their marriage could survive this betrayal. As the weeks went by, Nick began to see small signs of progress. The tension in the house started to ease, and they began to talk more openly about their feelings. They leaned on their friends and family for support, finding strength in the love and encouragement they received. Nick and Zoe knew that their journey to healing would be long and challenging, but they were determined to face it together. They focused on their children, ensuring that Emma, Lucas, and Noah felt loved and supported throughout this difficult time. As their 20th anniversary approached, Nick and Zoe faced a difficult decision. They had planned a big celebration, inviting friends and family to join them in marking this milestone. But now, with the truth out in the open, they weren't sure if they should go through with it. Nick felt conflicted. Part of him wanted to cancel the event and avoid the inevitable questions and awkwardness. But another part of him felt that this was an opportunity to confront the issue head-on, to address the betrayal and start the process of healing. After much discussion, they decided to go ahead with the celebration. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they believed it was important to be honest and open with their loved ones. The evening of the anniversary arrived, and Nick and Zoe welcomed their guests to the beautiful venue in downtown Austin. The atmosphere was festive, but there was an underlying tension that everyone could feel. As dinner was served and the guests enjoyed their meals, Nick stood up to give a speech. He looked out at the faces of his friends and family, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Nick began, his voice steady. "Zoe and I are grateful to have you all in our lives. This evening marks 20 years of marriage for us, and we wanted to celebrate this milestone with the people we love." He took a deep breath, glancing at Zoe, who gave him a reassuring nod. "But tonight is also about honesty and truth. Recently, we discovered something that has shaken our family to its core. We learned that our children, Emma and Lucas, are not my biological children. Their biological father is my brother, Liam." A shocked silence fell over the room as the guests processed Nick's words. He continued, "This revelation has been incredibly painful for us, but we believe in the importance of honesty and transparency. We want to work through this as a family, and we hope that you will support us in this journey." Liam, who was sitting at one of the tables, looked down, his face pale and his expression filled with guilt. Ava, his wife, placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, her eyes filled with concern. Nick's parents, who were also present, exchanged worried glances. His mother, Martha, looked like she was about to cry, while his father, Tom, wore a stern expression. Zoe stood up and took Nick's hand, her voice trembling as she spoke. "We made a terrible mistake, and we are deeply sorry for the pain we have caused. But we are committed to healing and moving forward as a family. We ask for your understanding and support during this difficult time." The guests began to murmur among themselves, the initial shock giving way to a mix of emotions. Some looked sympathetic, while others appeared confused or upset. Nick's brother, Liam, finally stood up, his voice filled with remorse. "I want to apologize to everyone, especially to Nick and Zoe. What we did was wrong, and I regret it every day. I hope that in time, you can find it in your hearts to forgive us." The tension in the room slowly began to ease as people processed the information and began to offer their support. Nick's parents approached him and Zoe, their expressions softening with compassion. "Nick, Zoe, we're here for you," Martha said, her voice filled with emotion. "We love you both, and we'll get through this together." Tom nodded in agreement. "Family is what matters most. We'll stand by you." As the evening continued, the atmosphere gradually shifted from one of tension to one of solidarity. Friends and family offered their support and encouragement, reassuring Nick and Zoe that they were not alone. In the weeks that followed the anniversary celebration, Nick and Zoe continued to work on rebuilding their marriage and healing their family. They attended counseling sessions regularly and found that talking openly about their feelings helped them understand and forgive each other. Nick and Liam also began the difficult process of mending their relationship. It wasn't easy, and there were many painful conversations, but they both knew that their bond as brothers was worth fighting for. Slowly, they began to rebuild the trust that had been broken. Emma, Lucas, and Noah adjusted to the new reality with the support of their parents and extended family. They had their own counseling sessions to help them process the news and deal with their emotions. Despite the challenges, they remained close and continued to thrive. As time passed, Nick and Zoe found themselves growing closer. They rediscovered the love that had brought them together in the first place and made a conscious effort to nurture their relationship. They planned regular date nights, took family trips, and made sure to communicate openly and honestly. One evening, as they sat on the porch, watching the sunset, Nick took Zoe's hand. "We've been through so much, Zoe. But I believe we're stronger because of it." Zoe smiled, her eyes filled with love. "I believe that too, Nick. Our love has been tested, but it's still here. And that's what matters." Nick nodded, feeling a sense of peace. "We've come a long way, and we still have a long way to go. But as long as we have each other, I know we'll be okay." They leaned in and kissed, the promise of a brighter future shining in their eyes. They had faced their darkest days and come out stronger, more resilient, and more committed to each other than ever before. Nick and Zoe's story is a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and the strength of family. They faced unimaginable challenges and betrayal, but through it all, they never gave up on each other. They learned that honesty and communication are the foundations of a strong relationship, and that with love and support, anything is possible. Their journey was not easy, and there were times when they doubted if they could make it through. But they found strength in their love for each other and their commitment to their family. They rebuilt their lives, piece by piece, and emerged stronger and more united. As they looked to the future, Nick and Zoe knew that there would be more challenges ahead. But they were ready to face them, hand in hand, with the knowledge that their love could withstand anything. And so, their story continues, a story of resilience, hope, and the enduring power of love. As we reach the end of Betrayal Beneath the Surface, The Cheating Wife's Secret, we see a story of resilience, love, and the struggle for redemption. Nick and Zoe's journey is a testament to the strength it takes to confront painful truths and the power of forgiveness to heal deep wounds. Their story reminds us that even in the face of betrayal, the bonds of family and love can endure and grow stronger. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more compelling stories. See you next time.